myself out.
I am afraid of.
I'm terrified and paralyzed by.
I am deathly afraid of.
Welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast with your host, me, Ryan Perrio. Hello, and welcome to the Sum of All Fears podcast. I am your host, Ryan Perrio. This week, my guest is podcaster and entrepreneur Alexa Randolph. Alexa has a podcast called, of course, Hey Alexa, where she interviews people about and from the mental health space about what they do and how they do it. She also has a fantastic online store, Custom Designs by Alexa, where she sells like decorated glassware as well as makeup bags and other things as well. Check out her Custom Designs by Alexa.com for all kinds of like frosted wine bottles with lighting, all kinds of nice little decorative like party wear and stuff like that. In this episode, we discuss being an entrepreneur, her podcast, Hey Alexa, her old podcast with Love Alexa, and then we get into her fear of failure. It's a fun episode, so let's get into that episode right now with Alexa Randolph. All right, my guest this week is podcaster and entrepreneur Alexa Randolph from the With Love Alexa and Hey Alexa podcast, as well as I think it's Designs by Alexa is your
Custom Designs by Alexa, yep.
Where you design custom glass, which has got to be amazingly fun to frost glass and kind of be decorative. You kind of get to scratch that creative itch.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And I love like when people do all these creative things. Like I've done for birthday parties, so it's like fun getting to try new things.
Mm-hmm. So when Amazon rolled out Alexa, was that like a dark day for you?
No. I loved it because like my name wasn't anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And now like when I'm at airports, I get keychains and all kinds of stuff that like I never got before. So to me, I loved it.
My girlfriend has a unique name, so she never gets the keychain. So there's hope that if somebody names their AI system after her daughter, that they will then make keychains for it.
Yeah, maybe.
Have people had Alexa at the house and like said that and both of you responded?
Everywhere. There was one time I was at a store and someone said, "Hey Alexa," and I like turned around and then I'm like, "Oh wait, they're talking to the Alexa's the system."
But that's also an excellent marketing tool again, and you were able to use that for a podcast and grab that before someone else did.
And I love it because I do Hey Alexa, so my each episode the title is Hey Alexa, and then I ask a question based off the topic that we talked about, and then in the description I do like Alexa says like not sure, and then like we said my guest would know and how to go in that way too for the description.
That is so creative. Like you just went whole hog with, okay, if we're going to call it Hey Alexa, we're going to do the show notes as Alexa is transcribing this.
Yep.
That's awesome. So you do a lot in the mental health and I guess chronic pain awareness, sector of podcasting. So what inspired, that you to jump into that area of podcasting?
So in 2016, it was about 2 months after I graduated college, and my whole life was ahead of me. I was in a bad car accident, and I had a mild traumatic brain injury, concussion, but I didn't know about it for like 4 months. And I was working full time with an event planner, which is what my dream job had been. And I just kept forgetting things or not understanding, and that wasn't me. And I went back to the doctor, and they had said I had a concussion. And so I ended up like a month or two later, I had to be taken off work. It was just I couldn't do anything. And so for about a year and a half, I couldn't work. I couldn't really do anything. And I started blogging And I was talking to a family friend about it, and they had a podcast studio, and they're like, well, podcasting is becoming like a bigger thing. You should podcast instead. And I had never thought about it. And it kind of scared me, but I decided to try it and I loved it. And that's why I wanted to talk a lot about like chronic pain awareness or in really invisible illness, because so many people have something invisible that other people don't see. So they look healthy or they look quote unquote normal, but they're not. They have issues. And I wanted to be that voice and to get people to share their own stories.
That's awesome. And it's so true. Like there's so many, it's like, just because they don't look perfect doesn't mean they're made perfect. And so there's so many like hidden, like either psychological, possible, what you might call deformities or anything like that. But just psychologically, there's things that maybe aren't correct and you just don't realize it because everybody just looks for physical,
Yeah.
And so that's super awesome. Like how long have you been doing each podcast?
So my first podcast I started with Love Alexa in September of 2019. And then I was at a studio, and then during the pandemic, I ended up doing it from home on Zoom, and I'm still doing it now from home. And my other one just started in January, the Hey Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
So with Love Alexa still out there, I don't do anything with it anymore. I've kind of transitioned into Hey Alexa because a lot of my guests from With Love Alexa, I've noticed there's just so much more out there besides just mental health. Like there's business, like people talk about, and there's mental health and business. There's so many different things. So I wanted to keep it a little bit more broad.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the idea behind this one is I didn't want to do a comedian podcast because everybody, then I'd have to just find comedians, and if I can't find one, then,
Right.
I was like, I'm not short on guests if I just ask anybody, what they're afraid of, and we just go from there. And so and so I just was like, yeah, and it's a fun conversation. It's interesting to hear some people's like got super obscure fears. Like I've had balloons, cotton balls, just there's been some really fun, obscure ones that's like, oh, I would have never thought that, and just kind of gone through it with them. And, it's been fun just to listen.
Yeah, I could see that too.
And so with Hey Alexa, how many episodes into Hey Alexa are you now since you started January? Do you do weekly, bi-weekly?
So right now I'm weekly, but I think I'm going to end up changing it to bi-weekly because I've had so many recordings that I'm literally through September right now. So like people like that I just recorded with aren't even going to have an air till August if I kept doing it weekly.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel bad. So I'm like, maybe I should just do bi-weekly because I keep getting more and more guests. So maybe just if I do it bi-weekly, then there'll still be a few months, but it won't be 6 months.
Yeah, that was my early pitfalls. Before I launched, I had like 30 to 40 episodes in the can. And so I stopped interviewing because I was like, I don't want to tell people 9 months. I don't want them to promote something that's 2 weeks away and only for them to know it's going to be 7 months later.
Right.
So when I worked through that backlog, then I kind of stopped over the holidays because like I don't want to interrupt people's Christmas and stuff by doing this. And so now this last January, I've been like, okay, we're at 3 or 4. I've got 2 or 3 cushion right now, and I have a few that I need to reschedule. But I'm like, I have a 2 episode cushion. I'm like, all right, got 2 weeks, and so it's motivated me a little bit more to try to like seek out interviews and things like that because you do kind of rest on it, and then all of a sudden you get down to like 5 or 6. Then I'll post in that Facebook group to see who wants to chime in, and then I have an overwhelming response, and I've got to try to mitigate that and do stand up, and that's why I do it kind of during the weekend afternoons because this is my kind of downtime.
Right.
Most nights I'm out performing, so I'm like, okay. I was like, most people have a Saturday or something like that they can spend an hour.
Exactly.
So you also are in business for yourself. You do custom designs by Alexa.
Yes.
So what inspired you to get into I guess, glass decoration? And
well, I'm a big wine drinker. I love my wine, and I love getting fun glasses, like fun wine glasses or any kind. So I started I have like my machine and everything. So I started doing just like making glasses. The glass is already made. I don't make like or frost any of it. I just do the actual design on them.
So do you go through? So I was going to ask, do you go through thrift stores and just buy?
Yeah. I try and do local. Yeah, I try and do local. I mean, I'll get some online, but I try and get it like as cheap as possible. So then I can, because I don't like to sell it for too expensive either. But they make great gifts. And so I have some set designs that people can choose from, but I also do where they can do a complete custom for a couple dollars more.
You should do a Galentine's. That should be one of you have to do like a Galentine's.
I did a Sale Be Wine was one of them. Instead of Sale Be Mine, it's Sale Be Wine, which was a really cute one. I've done lots of hearts and stuff for Valentine's Day, and now I'm getting into the St. Patty's Day.
That's awesome. My girlfriend is also big into, like, she goes to thrift stores and tries to find these really unique, ornate, classically wine glass. So I totally get where you're coming from. It's like she loves to find Depression era glass, and we have tons of that down here. So I would think that would be even cooler to have like old school, like the pink, green, like the Depression era, and then to stain those even.
Yeah, so I do all kinds. So right now I'm doing stem and stemlets. I do champagne. I do beer glasses, tumblers, shot glasses. I'm also doing these bottles, these frosted wine bottles that I put lights in. So it's like a decor, and then you can get it customized on it also. And I'm actually doing makeup bags now.
Well, that's awesome.
So I'm trying to add more and more things, and because they make great gifts, like for all occasions.
Absolutely. And it's, it's something that as a, it could be, for a couple or, for a lady or something like that. Like it's
right.
Women run, they love little decor, little knickknacks and things like that, little mementos.
Exactly.
And so how long does it take you to, like, I guess, fabricate or to make the designs? Like, how long does that process take?
I'm actually gotten really fast at it, so really not too bad. Sometimes there'll be like a mistake, so I have to redo it. But for the most part, I could do a couple within like 20 minutes.
That's awesome.
When it's more complicated design, it'll take me longer. But if it's just like a set design, like it's pretty easy. I print it out and put it on, and it's good to go. I try and get, like, when I get orders, I try and do it within like 1 to 2 days. I like say within like 4 business days, but I like to try and get it done as fast as I can.
Yeah, because for shipping and stuff like that, that's got to be
right.
So, how has that gone for you? Like, what's been your most challenging, I guess, design that you've had?
I'm trying to think. They've been pretty simple. I'm doing like these makeup bags right now for an event, and it's been a little bit more challenging because I'm just getting used to it. But because it's iron on, so it's not like, and I've been learning like doing this. It's a separate process for like the more intricate designs. You have to like print it out, then cut it, where otherwise you just print. So it's been a little bit more challenging, but it's been a lot of fun, and they're coming out really good. So
that's awesome. I'm glad that's happening, and you're expanding and you're finding new, and it's the unique little things. It's not like you're trying to mass produce. You're trying to You're testing yourself as well, like design wise, to say, can I make these?
Yep. And if I'm not sure about something, I'll like look it up. I do whatever I can to make it happen.
Any other things on the horizon you haven't started yet that you're like eyeballing, like out of the corner of your eye, like?
Possibly robes, like for bridesmaids, or like the silky little robes. I wouldn't mind trying, but I'm not there yet.
Ooh, you could even do the sashes too, like the little.
Yeah. So yeah. So we're looking at a few different things, but right now I want to like get really good at the things I am doing, and then eventually add more.
Okay, so that kind of leads in, especially to the fear that you have, which.
Yes.
Go ahead and tell people what it is you're afraid of.
I've always had a fear of failure. I don't like to fail at things. I don't like to consider myself a failure. And when sometimes I would, like if something didn't work out.
Yeah. And it's, yeah, I can tell because of how mindful you are about, like, even your crafts thing. Like, you're so mindful about, like, I want to master this before I try something else. I want to basically, I don't want it. I want it to be purposeful. I want it to be a artisan, like almost like an artisan. Like, I want to know this craft before I try to take on another potential design.
Yes, very much so.
And it's such a great way to do it because I know I have ADHD. My girlfriend may or may not. She can get kind of, like, I'll start something and then overwhelm and take a break.
Yeah.
And so I can tell that with the mental health and stuff like that. So does this help? Because I feel like this would help because it's almost task work. Like, I feel like whenever you have like mental health things like that, just a steady task that just kind of, requires your focus, but not, it's not overwhelming. You just can, it's almost like, I like to say menial, but it's just like rhythm. Like, there's just a rhythm to it.
It's getting there now. For a while in the beginning, I would like mess up a lot and it would get me more down on myself.
Mm-hmm.
But like every time I do one that comes out really great, like right away, like it makes me so happy and like it kind of helps in that way.
Okay.
For sure.
Do you have like a support system for when you do feel like maybe one project's just not flowing for you and you're just kind of, throw up your hands for a little bit, just take a step away? Because sometimes when you get negative, it's you're just at that point,
it just keeps messing up. Even if my parents are amazing. I live with them still, and it's been really great because like my mom will see if I'm struggling and she'll either try and help or she'll just say like, take a break, go do this tomorrow. Like, it's not any big deal. And a lot of times I'll end up doing better like the next day. Like, if I'm doing it too late or if I've done too much in that day, sometimes my brain shuts down and I just can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you still have effects from the concussion, or is that completely?
Yeah, I still do.
I was wondering if maybe that's also been enhanced with that injury, that maybe those feelings of.
Oh, for sure.
Because your neural pathways are maybe not going the same way, like you're detoured. And I've had people that kind of work with people I've talked to people that have had, work with people therapies that recovery for head injuries and stuff, and it's just the frustration of and so that's awesome. I mean, it's good that you're able to, I guess you have those safety things in place, or at least somebody's saying, hey,
I'm trying. I try.
And so I can't imagine, you were always afraid, like when you were doing the personal assistant, like before a car accident and stuff?
Well, the event assistant was actually after the accident.
Okay.
I had started it. So I think I've always been afraid of failing, but it got worse after the accident.
Yeah.
Because like when I couldn't work for so long, or like things just weren't working out, and I'm afraid, like, what if I can't work? What if I can't do this? Like, I've just had a lot more fears of being like a failure or like a burden to the people I love. Like, that's like another thing, kind of failure and a burden.
Yeah, it does kind of, because it becomes like almost like it's very simple minded, and it just, you pile on, this isn't this, I'm that. And
yeah.
So as an event planner, I just feel like that would be like one of the most challenging for what you're afraid of to take on, because you could do everything right and the customer could still be like, absolutely, this is not what I wanted.
Right. And so I was like an assistant. So I wasn't the event planner. Like, I was her full-time like assistant. So I helped with a lot. So it wouldn't be on me per se. Like, if it didn't work out, it'd be on her, but she would like then bring it out on us.
Mm-hmm.
So like if she made the mistake, like it would be our fault.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And that's just because she's the owner and we're the ones doing a lot of this stuff. And so it kind of falls on that. So it wasn't so much of a failure there, I don't think, because even though like the client wouldn't know it was on me or anything. Like,
yeah. I just feel like that would be such an unfun environment to work in. Just to be I need this now, just having to basically be in a constant state of heightened panic. Not full on panic, but just, I've got to do this. I got to, oh my God, in 30 minutes, I got to find this. You got to find and locate, track it down, get it, procure it, and get it back. And, sometimes you may be out of luck or, then trying to find alternatives and.
Right. So I realized shortly after, like, it just wasn't for me, the field anymore. And it was a bummer because that was like had been my dream since I was in high school. Like I wanted to be an event planner, and I don't know if it would have been different had I not had the accident, but that I'm happier with what I'm doing now than I would have been there. So
what inspired you to want to be an event planner? That's such a unique, I guess, dream to have.
So I always liked like helping like parties and stuff. And when I was in high school, I was in a fashion class, and it was like 3 levels. It was like fashion 1, 2, and then 3. We hosted this whole huge fashion show at our school, and like using clothing from different stores in the community. And it was like this big event they did every year. And I got to be a part of it. And it was like I was on a committee in the class, and a lot of the people in the committee didn't necessarily do their work. So I kind of ended up doing a lot of it. And it was like that stress, but I knew it was going to get done type of stress. It wasn't like just random stress. So like it was kind of made me feel good, like seeing it come into from the start of picking a theme all the way through to the end and having that stress, but then seeing it happen. And ever since then, it like made me.
Okay. So you're also a little, it sounds like you're a little OCD, or just like, this is my way, my way. I like your input, but it's going to be my way.
No, not so much that. Like I'll take I take the input and everything, but people just weren't doing their job. Like they just weren't doing it. So like I just kind of started doing it because it has to get done. And if no one's doing their work or whatever, like I had to do it. So.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where people work at different paces, and sometimes what, I want this done now. I'd rather not wait.
I'm not good at waiting.
Yeah. But I mean, that may have also played into, being an assistant one where it's not at your pace, you're going at her pace, and that kind of, you can maybe sync up sometimes, but there are times where, you want to do something but she's the lead. And
that's why I like working for myself, because then I can do everything at my own pace, like how I want it done. And I don't have to rely on anyone else.
Yeah. And you can it's all you from there to go. It's not something that you're having to wait on. And then if it doesn't come.
Right. Or if I fail, I'm failing because I did something wrong, not because someone did something wrong against me or because someone else made me fail. It's on me.
Yeah. Did that leave an imprint when your event planner would tell you that it was your fault when it kind of wasn't? Like it was, would you ever think of having someone help you with that? Like if Designs by Alexa took off and, orders were...
Of course. That would be amazing. I would love that. Well, maybe one day, but...
Yeah, and I feel like that would be an interesting dynamic, because it's one of those things where I feel like it's almost like you have to find the right people. Like there's such a people element in that, because the fastest person in the world may not be someone you can work with. It's just
right. Or maybe having people do some of the other stuff. So like maybe the background stuff, like marketing or like social media, things like, and I can do the design.
Yeah, that's got to be, I forgot about social media and all that stuff as far as...
Oh, the pain.
Well, it's just like you have to, do you do videos? Do you do stop motion?
Right now I'm trying to do videos. I'm not like completely there yet. So I never know what to necessarily do in a video, but I've been doing like for podcasts, like I set it up. I do like my pictures of my stuff and put it out there.
So you could my friend does stop motion, like the time lapse where you can make it look almost like Tim Nightmare Before Christmas kind of, where it's kind of
yeah.
stop motion. And I was like, you could probably do that with your designs and just kind of, just do the stop motion camera and rotate, the stuff. So it kind of.
I think that's too complicated for me. Maybe maybe I'd hire someone eventually for that. But right now, I think that's too complicated for me.
Just if you had free time, just for fun, just play with it and see what comes out. And it's just free content because you're just like, oh, if it comes out halfway, you say, hey, look, play
exactly.
And just get feedback. I feel like you just won't. You are definitely a person that will continue, even after your respite, like when your mom says, okay, take time out, calls a timeout for you. I feel like you're still like, I'm gonna figure this out. I don't think there's been a design that you have been like, I can't do, this is just not gonna be doable. Or
so I'm getting to the point now where I'm learning that sometimes it's not good for me to continue, at least right then and there. So I have been taking the breaks and stuff, and I'm kind of learning when it's enough for me. And there have been designs, but not because someone, I have my stuff in a store also, like a local store that has a bunch of artists. So I'll make designs for the store, but if it's not coming out right, sometimes it's too small or it's too intricate. So when you pull you have to weed it comes apart. So those ones I won't do, but I haven't so far, knock on wood, I haven't had an issue with someone telling me a design they wanted that I couldn't do. It's more of my own, trying something and it just didn't work out. I'm I don't want to do one of them and then someone loves it and then wants more and then I can't do it again. So, but I'm learning to take breaks because I know now, if I'm doing it too much or if it's too late, it's not going to work. So why waste the time and the material? Yeah.
Do you set a time for your work? Do you do because I know late in the evening, that would probably be
yeah, that gets harder.
So I just, let me go to bed. Just.
I try and get up at between 9 and 10 and do it for however many hours. Some days, I've been doing it a lot longer. But I've been okay. I've been able to handle it because I have a couple really big orders for events right now, which has been really fun. But so I'm trying to get everything done, but I've been doing little bits every day. So that's helping too.
Yeah. And sometimes, like I said, it's just seeing it slowly come together and just realizing, okay, we are in a process of getting there. It's not there yet, but
it's almost there.
Yeah. It's just a little bit closer every day. You just set yourself small goals, and if it's an order for 100, 10 glasses today.
Right.
So where do you feel like this fear of failure came from? Where did you feel like maybe this first, I guess, hit you?
I think I've just had a lot of people in my life when I was younger. I always just felt like I wasn't good enough to some of my old friends. Family members, distant family members, just people, I think I just always felt like I wasn't good enough. And I think it kind of just stacked from there.
Okay. So there was you have a little bit of a slightly competitive, I guess, feels like competitive or nature or something to where you on your placement as far as you, and sometimes that is too, because I don't have a tangible skill that I know of. I do stand up in that and that's, but you don't have that through your childhood. You don't get to be a performer, in that on that kind of stage. You're just kind of shut in and made fun of, and so yeah, I totally get. Sometimes you have gifts that you don't really get to show until you get later in life.
Older. Yeah.
And so I've always struggled with that. It's one of those things too. And I grew up in the 80s and parenting back then with kids with mental health. It wasn't as in-depth.
Right.
It was, you're not trying. That was, and you just didn't know what trying was. And it's just, they're just different ways of learning. And it's always been interesting to see how other people learn.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I'm very thankful. I've had my parents my whole life who always supported me in everything I did. They were always my biggest fans. And like my grandma, like I just have certain people in my life that I've always had. And that's like what's helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm. Are you an only child?
Yes, I am.
Same. I am also an only child, so I was like, yeah, I totally get that too. Because sometimes you're just kind of left to your own devices because just your parents are sometimes busy, so you're
right. Like I've always had a big imagination.
well, you're just left to your own devices to entertain yourself. You're not, unfortunately, a parent that's 20, 30 years older than you is not going to have the same interest and fun level. So a lot of time you have fun and isolation, like you just start building stuff with blocks. You're just left to, your own, I guess, creativity and things like that. And that's kind of, that's how I've always been. Like I just been alone with my own thoughts, and you sometimes even for, really connect. I sometimes feel like I don't know if I even connected with my parents as a young kid. Like I just kind of went in my room, closed the door, and they check on me from time to time, but it wasn't anything like where I feel like childhood was, where you ask all these questions and get all these answers. Like, I don't feel like I ever had that. I just feel like I always felt like I was in my room, play with my toys, and my parents would come in to tell me if it's dinner or anything, or, ask me about my day. Brief conversation, back to just me.
Okay. I think I did my own thing, but I also was very close with my parents. Like I was like always around them, I think a lot. So, which was nice. Like it was nice to have that.
Yeah. I was around my grandparents and stuff, but I was just always, I feel like I'm probably somewhere on the spectrum, but at my age, it's like, what's the point of getting tested?
Yeah.
At this point, there's nothing, it's nothing I can do for my future. And so, I've always been like kind of a solitary, silent but solitary person. And
okay. Yeah.
And so I don't feel like I ever really open up to people. Like I just kind of, I'm present, and that's how I've always felt like with my emotions and stuff. With failure, for me, I get very agitated, frustrated, and I have to walk away, but I probably don't take enough time away before my brain's like, let's get back at it. And I'm impatient sometimes too. I feel like that once I start something, it's like, let's get it done. Let's get it done.
Yeah, no, I'm learning to try and not be like that. I still have a long ways to go, but I'm learning to try and really listen to my body and my brain. But it's hard. It's not easy.
Yeah. And for me, it was just a lot of times also taking out things in my life that would agitate, like video games and things like that only serve to agitate me when I wouldn't win. So I was like, you know what? I need to. I see the signs now of anger rising, and I'm like, okay, back off. Let's just take a break and just go back at it, later on. And even then, it's like, let's just find something to distract you for even longer before you get back at it, and then just kind of hit back at it at a later time. Because once I start into something, I'm like, I'm building it, then I'll find out I built it wrong, and then I got to unbuild it and rebuild it. And so I don't know if you've had that where you've, I guess, done a glass, you're like, oh, this is not what I was supposed to do.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Can you undo like your glasses? Like if you needed to, like if you had to?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that was something that once it was on there, it's pretty hard to get off, or.
It can be annoying, but it gets real sticky. So like you have to take like the alcohol and like rub it off. And so that's like an extra process. So if I don't have to, I prefer not to, but if needed, I can get it off.
Okay. And so an amazing, like, so we're both learning at this point. So if you were to tell people that, struggle with fear of failure, have you ever, because I feel like failure would just be like just walking away, just putting for the glass business, it would be like just putting it all in a cupboard, not touching it again. To me, failure is just you absolutely just give up, where you're like, no more of this?
Yeah, that too. But I think my thing of failure is like, I really want this to be successful. Like I really want the business to go somewhere. And I think my fear is like that it'll only be like a little side thing. And then I won't be able to make this a business. And then I'll have to figure out another way to get money, like find a job somewhere. Like that, I think is more my failure. Like I'll always have the business, like I'll always do it, but I don't want it to be a side thing. I want it to be the main thing.
Yeah. But I feel like as long as I feel you'll actively do that until you find a way. Like I don't consider, I think just considering failure is just saying this is a wrap on this. And that's how I've always done with stand-up, is like, because I will, there's feelings of, I'm not as famous as I should be, or things of that nature, or, I, because I'm sure with this as well, you don't get firsthand, like, results. Like it's not a Stormable business where you have a performance review every 6 months to tell you how you're doing.
Of course. I mean, you get reviews from people, or if someone tells you they love it, like that's a great feeling.
But then it's just the long haul of, is this how am I building to other companies that do the same thing I do? Am I on their same trajectory? Because that's how I feel as a comic. It's like, am I on like a good trajectory? And it just, but
you can't really know.
Yeah. And so I just was like, I just find satisfaction in the fact that I'm doing what I want and still, I guess, managing to survive. And, maybe it's not the lavish income that I thought being a famous comedian would be, but it's enough. It's like, it keeps me wanting to get better, but it's not something where I'm just like resenting the fact that I don't have as much success as I would like to have.
Yeah. I think too, what's hard is like, I'm starting to see a profit from everything. Like I have a profit now, which is amazing, but I don't necessarily see it because I keep putting it back into the business to get more. But I feel like that's the absolute best thing you could do though. Cause I mean, it makes you,
of course,
but it just also motivates you. It's like, it's in there now. I gotta get more out of it. And so,
right. So it's amazing, but it's like, I can't wait till I can finally see a profit and keep a profit, plus keep putting it back in, like where it's enough that I can actually see it and I keep making more and more money. And then it's, if that makes sense, it's like right now the profit's there, but it's not really there anymore.
Yeah.
It's kind of
profit and growth is what you're looking for.
Yes.
That's
where the profit just gets bigger and bigger. So I have a set, like a part that I can use a section of the money to keep getting more stuff, and then have more money that I can keep putting away.
Yeah. And I hope that happens for you. And you're again, because you're so dedicated to it, and you're also savvy enough to not just rest on glass. Like, hey, what are other avenues that other markets that I could potentially dive into, and then not just dive into and get a bunch of product and then find you can't. Let's do one or two. Like you're very methodical, you're very intentional. And I feel like that sets you apart, at least sets you on a path to get profit and growth, because as comics, we have merchandise. Sometimes people have t-shirts, and so many times I see people, immediately, I've got a new shirt, 6 months, I got a new shirt, and I'm like, but how much money are you throwing away on making those shirts? Because you're not getting new people to buy your shirts. You're trying to basically just sell shirts again to the same persons you've been selling to before.
Right.
And I was like, that to me, that just feels like at some point your business cost is outweighing your profit.
Right. And so far it's not anymore. So that's good.
Yeah. But I mean, you're also just, you're working at it in a way that that it's sustainable, you're not buying 500 makeup bags and then hoping that everybody gets a makeup bag.
Right. No.
And that's I'm sure that's a pitfall of a lot of business owners because they want to they're in their head they're like everybody's gonna want this, I gotta have supply, and I'm like, but you might want just start small, and then as everything increases, then
and you get more and more.
And maybe it costs you more to get a smaller order of products or to find just a few wine glasses versus buying 50 wine glasses for, I would say, slightly more money, but getting way more product. Is that now you have just stacks and stacks of wine glasses that are just waiting for an order. So you also there's also that time of overhead storage time, which yes, even though it's free, it's in your parents' house right now, it's still taking up space.
Yeah, so I have a good amount of stuff on hand just because there are people keep buying, and like I don't want it to be where I can't find what I need. So it's hard. It's like you want enough, but you don't want too much.
Yeah, you don't want pallets of stuff
where your whole room is taken up. Yeah,
but it's also fun to see the trends and stuff, to see what people are buying, like which your biggest mover is. Is it always wine glasses, or is the makeup bag the new thing?
I haven't done too much with the makeup bag yet. It's brand new. It's like really new.
Yeah.
So I'm doing right now. My 3 best sellers have been the stem wine glasses, the tumblers, and then the light up bottles.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, but it's fun just projecting, like, okay, where does that, once you release the makeup bag and to that fold, like, where does it sit in your...
I don't know. We're going to find out.
Is it going to be like one of those things where it's super hot at the beginning? It's like, oh, it's a new thing.
Right.
And then it just settles down? Or is it going to be the thing that takes off along with the stem glasses?
Yeah, I don't know. What's cool, too, is they're called makeup bags, but they really can be like, just like use cases. So like people can use it for travel. If you have like cards, you can put cards in there, pencil case. It's like one of those kind of things. So it's not... So they're calling it makeup bags, but they're really can be for boys, girls, everything, which is nice.
Once you master those, you can then tackle fanny packs. I feel like that's...
Yes.
they're making a comeback. And then
they are. They've been for a little while.
And so you could put mindful messages on the fanny pack. Like that.
Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much for doing this, Alexa. Where can people find you on social media and online if they were to want to purchase some of your glassware?
Yeah, so my website is Custom Designs by Alexa, and my Instagram and Facebook is Alexa Randolph LLC.
That's awesome. Well, again, I thank you for doing this, and we'll post the links for your podcast there. Hey, Alexa, and with...
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks again, Alexa.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. So that was Alexa. Man, that was a fun conversation. I really enjoyed learning about glass design and party wear and event planning. I like how she's kind of tied that into her, event planning desire. Like she's now kind of building the supplies for events like parties and gatherings and things like that, as well as just memories. It's a real fun, real niche little store. I hope it takes off. And I believe in her because she is so methodical and intentional on how she does her work that I'm sure she will find success. Also, check out her podcast, Hey Alexa, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google. Leave a review, as well as leave a review for this podcast. 5 stars if you can. I have been dreading fear of failure my whole life. It's one of those things where growing up, I just put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. And so I can totally relate to that fear and having to take time away because you just get too wrapped up in what's going on in the moment. So make sure you take time away to just kind of unwind. And if something's stressing you, it can wait a little bit. Unless you're a procrastinator, then it can't. Just do your best and always have a great time. I am about to go to the Comedy Arena for my second night of headlining with Scott Crisp and Mallory Davis. It was a fun show yesterday. We stayed and watched the March Laughness comedy contest that they were having there as well. Saw some comics advance, and we'll see maybe some tonight, or we may leave early. And so after tonight, I will be out of town for the beginning of the week, coming back on Tuesday, and it should be a fun little getaway. And then we're back at it with open mics and podcast interviews. I'll have another podcast episode next Monday morning. And so check it out. Thanks again for listening to the Sum of All Fears podcast, and have a great week. And now some thank yous for the folks that make this show possible. Thanks to Barry Whitewater for my art and graphics. You can follow him on Instagram at bwhiteh2o. Get it? H2O like water. You can also follow him on Facebook, Music. A huge thank you to Gunnar Olsen for the wonderful music provided for this podcast. You can follow him on Instagram at gunbuns, that's GUNBUNS, as well as his website, gunnarolsen.net. Check out some of the samples that he has recorded. They're amazing. He's an amazing percussionist. If you want to follow the show, we've got a Facebook group, Sum of All Fears. Instagram, Twitter, you can find us at Some Fear Fans. If you have some feedback for the show, email me at somefearfans, SOMEFEARFANS @gmail.com. I'll be happy to take those into consideration. Also, if you'd like to be a guest, email me at somefearfans@gmail.com. We can try to iron out some details and get that settled in. Give us some feedback. If on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts, leave a review. It makes the show bigger, and it's not going anywhere. I'm going to record as many shows as I possibly can. If you want to follow me on social media, I am at Ryan Perio. It's RyanPerio on all social media platforms. You can follow me there, and you can check me out at ryanperio.com, my website. I'll try to list upcoming shows there as well. It's been kind of spotty because as soon as I set it up, that's when the pandemic happened, and everything's kind of just in a holding pattern. Thanks again for listening to the Sum of All Fears podcast. Next week, we'll have another guest with another fear. Thanks for listening.